If you haven't experienced homelessness, in my opinion, then you have sympathy for homeless people. But if you've been homeless yourself, then you have empathy for homeless people because you've been there, you've done that, you know what it's like. You can try to explain homelessness to someone who hasn't been, but unless they've been there, they don't really have a clue.
I really had to basically lose my mind from the bipolar to the point where I was hospitalized and homeless and cut off from my family.
A shocking statistic is that 1 out of 4 homeless people in the United States are veterans. That should shock us. The other statistic that's incredibly sad is that there have actually been double the number of Vietnam vets who have committed suicide than the number of Vietnam vets who were killed in the war.
There is a spiritual dimension to the things that vets bring back from combat. There is a kind of spiritual trauma, a moral injury that we bring home with us from the things that we've seen and the things that we've done.
I do wish more could be done for the veterans in this area because they need help. It's been bad enough when Vietnam era veterans came back. They were crapped on, peed on, called them baby killers.
And one of the striking sort of tragedies, it seems to me, is that by virtue of giving their lives on behalf of us, they come back and meet with a sense of being betrayed because there isn't any place for them in the culture. And I think that one of the things that's part of the church's DNA is the tragedy of betrayal, because after all, that's really where it all began when Jesus was betrayed himself.
Being in the military, whether you were in during wartime or civilian time, it's a whole different lifestyle that civilians, I don't think, can understand. They take away your civilian mindset and give you a military mindset, and then they send you back out into the civilian world, with that military mindset and say, all right, you're on your own. And it's really tough.
So often if someone is living in shelter or living on the street, there's a sense of loneliness and isolation that can kind of take over a person. And if you've felt unseen or unheard for long periods of time, it really crushes the spirit. And so the chance for a church, either with veterans or with people experiencing homelessness, to come in and recreate that sense of community for a person is not only healing, but it's doing the work of Jesus in the world.
We are down to earth. Most of us are a family. And most of us take time and pray. Most of us take time to read our Bibles. Some of us do go to church.
One of the great things about the Judeo-Christian tradition is that we are an incarnational faith. We believe that God takes flesh. And that means that faith is not an abstraction. It's not an idea. It's not reflecting about a God out in the great beyond. Incarnational faith means that God takes flesh. And so to encounter God in those who are poor, in those who are hungry, those who feel desperate, we're doing something that is intrinsic to our religion. We're being changed by the God who lives in them and the God who lives in us.